INFOWARSLife.com.
Here at INFOWARS, we deal with a lot of sensitive information, and to retrieve said information, we often have to go through the public information officer. But don't let the name fool you. It's been my personal experience, as well as the rest of the crew, that the public information officer's job is to give you as little information as possible.
You know what's going on up there, and you want to talk to people, and you don't even have a prepared statement? Shame on you. You're criminals. That's a bunch of bullshit. They know what's going on at the Bundy Ranch, and they won't even let a personal information officer, a police information officer, give us any information.
And the people over at Wired.com figured this out as well when they recently tried to retrieve some information from the NSA. They have the article out, NSA Mindbender. We won't tell you what info we already leaked to the media. Who would have thought that trying to obtain information about the information the agency had already given out would lead to such a brick wall? That's what happened when the Federation of American Scientists filed a FOIA request with the Defense Department, which is part of the NSA, earlier this year, seeking information about any authorized leaks of intelligence made to the media during the previous 12 months. The response they got: the document responsive to your request has been reviewed by the agency as required by the Freedom of Information Act and has been found to be currently and properly classified in accordance with Executive Order 13526, which is to say, we won't tell you what information we already put out about ourselves. This is the complete joke of dealing with the government, whether it's a very simple request of something like a police report, how many bullets were shot, surveillance footage. They don't want to give you that. And even the National Security Agency, who Joe Big Show the report, is even spying on you through your phone.
All right, so you get your Android device, wherever your settings button is, click on that settings button, go to General, scroll all the way down to the bottom to wherever it says About Device. Then you're going to go to Legal Information, Open Sources, Licenses. It says you agree that this software is a non-commercially developed program that may contain bugs, and the NSA makes no and hereby expressly disclaims all warranties. Also goes on that says that the NSA will not be liable for any loss of profits or loss of data.
So these guys have these huge NSA data hubs. They won't let you inside, and when you request information, you get these bland responses. If it wasn't for guys like Edward Snowden and Benny, we would never get this intel. But you can get this information and so much more at INFOWARS.com.
That means no more illegal wiretapping of American citizens. No more national security letters to spy on citizens who are not suspected of a crime. No more tracking citizens who do nothing more than protest a misguided war.
Jennifer Lawrence finally spoke out about that celebrity photo hacking scandal, calling it a sex crime and shaming anyone who participated in the sharing of those images. Now, Lawrence says that she has no apologies for taking nude selfies, and she shouldn't. It's not a crime. But where are all the outcries from these celebrities when it comes to government surveillance? Hello, the NSA is doing the exact same thing. We've reported extensively about NSA agents watching you through your laptop cameras, siphoning off your nudie pics, and then sharing them around the office. Edward Snowden said that this is just one of the perks of working in surveillance. And let's not forget that the police use the very same software that's used by hackers to gain access to your private data as well. But instead of focusing on government crime and unconstitutional surveillance, celebrities are calling out for even tighter restrictions on the internet. Yay, punish us for our freedoms. USA! USA! Let's take a look at some of the sex criminals in our very own government, the same people that Jennifer Lawrence is asking to help investigate these hackers. Top DHS cop sues former DHS chief, alleging employee discrimination against straight males. The lawsuit alleges that Napolitano's hand-picked chief of staff demanded a male ICE special agent engage in oral sex with her. And here's another one. The TSA is hiring criminals and sexual predators without even giving background checks. Theft, child molestation, rape, prostitution, and murder, these are just a few of the crimes with which TSA employees have been charged in recent years. So when you see images of TSA agents patting down little kids, remember, it's for your freedom. Federal workers admit watching porn at work out of boredom. Government employees spent hours gawking at porn and in some cases engaging in cyber sex. And how much do you want to bet that some of these same government workers were enjoying nude pictures of Jennifer Lawrence while on the clock? Now, I'm not saying that the feds don't do their fair share of busting actual sexual deviants. Here, let's look at this. The FBI rescues 79 children being held as sex slaves across the U.S. FBI raid rescues 168 child sex slaves on U.S. soil. And in these cases, the FBI was also able to shut down hundreds of pimps that were involved in this sex trafficking. But of course, these were low-level pimps being taken down by the FBI. The focus is always on the minions, but there are some high-level sex criminals in our very own government. But the news is that the Secret Service is buying hookers. It's not the fact that there were underage hookers being shipped into the George Bush White House. And of course, there's Michael Aquino. He was a very high-level operative at the NSA in the Army's Psych Warfare Division. And of course, he's the founder of a large satanic cult, the Temple of Set. Now, Aquino and his wife Lilith and others were charged with conducting a satanic child molestation ring. They operated it at the Presidio Army Base Daycare Center. It was found that over 60 children had been molested, a number of whom had contracted venereal diseases. But of course, all the charges were eventually dropped. And of course, there's DynCorp and Halliburton. Both were exposed for having been involved in the buying and selling of young women and children into sex slavery. But that hasn't stopped either of them from still getting large government contracts. Now here's a good one from the Common Sense Show. Child sex trafficking in the Oklahoma state government. They say many children are going missing from Child Protective Services all across the country, and there's no record of what has happened to thousands of missing children. In Oklahoma, 78 children in custody have gone completely missing with no explanation. The agency said they've made no mistakes, and they insist that all 78 missing children should just be considered to be runaways and that they haven't been abducted. So first of all, how would they know that if these children are missing? And secondly, if these kids had run away from their parents, there'd be hell to pay and they'd be taken from the parents and put in Child Protective Services. Oh, the irony. Now continuing on, we have convicted pedophile Jerry Sandusky. He pimped kids out of his Second Mile Foundation in an elite sex ring. The Second Mile Foundation was recognized as one of President Bush's top 1,000 points of light. Former President George H.W. Pappy Bush is no stranger to accusations of pedophilia, as evidenced by this front page news. And don't even question the trail of dead and missing who were just investigating the Second Mile and other government agencies who procure their underage victims by making them wards of the state. Kind of like former Georgia State Senator Nancy Schaefer and her husband, who were mysteriously suicided in 2010 on the very same day that she was to speak out on The Alex Jones Show. So celebrities, go ahead, keep on taking your nudie pics. It's America, it's a free country. But what you should be doing is using your celebrity status to call out the real sex criminals in our own government.
The whole aim of Newspeak is to narrow the range of thought. In the end, we'll make thought crime literally impossible because there'll be no words to express it.
But even now, there's no excuse for thought crime. It's just a question of reality control, of self-discipline.
When Newspeak is perfect and compulsory, there won't be the need even for that. The revolution will be complete. In 70 years or so, there'll be nobody alive who could possibly understand this conversation we're having.
Well, except
the pros, well, they're not human.
The trend towards mass media's hold on the American mind is losing its grip. Gallup polls show that on average, only 40% of Americans trust mass media. And the decrease has progressed since the mid-2000s. The re-election of George W. Bush hammered public trust from 54% in 2003 to 44% in 2004. Both ABC News and CBS News have siblings in the Obama administration.
CBS News President David Rhodes and ABC News President Ben Sherwood, both of them have siblings that not only work at the White House, that not only work for President Obama, but they work at the NSC on foreign policy issues directly related to Benghazi.
And no one batted an eye after former White House press secretary Jay Carney,
it's not because I'm a paragon of virtue, it's because that would be a terrible way to do the job,
who repeatedly pushed false talking points to the American public and is married to an ABC senior correspondent, is now to be a trusted voice on CNN.
You know, facts are stubborn things, Mr. Carney.
Senator, I understand that you present the facts that you believe are true based on the argument that you've made
not I believe
for a
are
long
true.
time,
They are
sir,
true.
that we should.
The Los Angeles Times reported that young people spend an average of 200 hours per month watching media. So why would trust decline?
We mustn't be caught by surprise by our own advancing technology. I would feel it's being used too much to distract everybody all the time. But I mean, imagine, which must be the situation in all communist countries, where the television, where it exists, is always saying the same thing the whole time, is always driving along. It's not creating a wide front of distraction, it's creating a one-pointed drumming in of a single idea by bypassing the sort of rational side of man and appealing to his subconscious and his deeper emotions and his physiology even, making him actually love his slavery.
Currently, 6 corporations feed the public 90% of all the collectivized info it has to offer. For example, the lurid details of Stephen Collins' child molestation investigation are repeatedly broadcast across the media landscape, while reports of 418 North Carolina children being raped by illegal aliens in 1 month goes unreported. What matters most to the American people means very little to a politicized culture in the White House. It's an election year after all. The disengaged Obama administration's assumption that public perception is under controlled manipulation only adds fuel to the downward spiral of trust contained in the Gallup poll numbers. In the words of Abraham Lincoln, you can fool all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. John Bound, INFOWARS.com.
I'm Joe Biggs with INFOWARS.com. Now, Wednesday, Marine Corps Air Station New River held a full-scale pandemic outbreak drill where health officials and Marines responded to a smallpox outbreak there aboard the installation. Now, what they did is they named this, they called it Exercise Vigilant Response. It was a drill the first of its kind, and from what they know, it's the largest drill of that kind for an outbreak done by the Marine Corps. They decided to use this as a way to incorporate by administering inoculations. So they had about 1,200 flu shots on hand, and what they did is they had Marines come in, they had the Navy corpsmen set up like there was an outbreak, and they lined all these Marines up and had them come in single file line and administer the shot. Well, when I was in the Army, I had to go through something similar to that. I was brought into a large auditorium, and we would be called up, filed into a single file, and be forced to take these shots. I know there's got to be a lot of Marines out there that refuse to take the shots as well, like I did. I remember for one instance, I went up there and I said, you know, I don't want to take this. I don't know what's in this, and the times that I've had to take it before, I feel very sick, I feel lightheaded, and then I end up being out of the fight. I'm not able to work. So it's one of those things that's just crazy how they push these vaccines on soldiers because they know you took an oath and you signed that dotted line, and they have a way to test different things on you. You know, with the Ebola outbreak, they're testing all these experimental drugs, and they're not working out. So it's scary that our government uses Marines, sailors, Army, soldiers, all that stuff as a tool to test out these vaccinations to eventually push them out into the regular public. Well, a lot of people don't know what are in, you know, what's in the flu shot. So I'm going to show you really quick, and I'm going to tell you what's in it and then the side effect of that actual ingredient. Now, with egg proteins, that can include avian containment viruses. The gelatin can also cause allergic reactions, and anaphylaxis are usually associated with sensitivity to egg or gelatin. Polysorbate 80 can cause severe allergic reactions, including anaphylaxis, which is also associated with infertility in female mice. This is something they're shooting into your arm or making you sniff up your nose. Formaldehyde, Triton X100, a strong detergent, resin, all this stuff, mercury, metals. This is mind-blowing, the things that they're forcing us to take. They use this drill as a beard to make it seem like it's more fun and we're doing something to prepare in case an outbreak happens. So it kind of helps ease the Marines, I guess, into making themselves feel like, okay, this is for a good cause, but really in actuality, it's something that's going to harm you. And so this is just another crazy way that our government is forcing these vaccinations on you. Know what the vaccinations are, know what's in them before you take them. You don't have to take them as a civilian. You're not forced to do this stuff. Know